Hello, my wonderful and beautiful friends. Welcome back to our story time, where we have a workplace misunderstanding gone terribly wrong, a Gen X family drama, a husband secretly pretending to be a cat, a shocking cheating scandal, and a dark confession that gave me chills. I hope you enjoy these stories, just don't shake your head too hard. And as always, you can send or link your own posts to this email right here. Let's dive in. Story 1. Drama, accidentally sabotaging a coworker. First up, we have a story from r/Ada, a subreddit where real-life office drama explodes like fireworks. And this time, our original poster, unintentionally became the main character in a movie they never wanted to star in. OP works in a small office, the kind where everyone knows each other, says good morning out of habit, and occasionally bonds over complaining about deadlines. OP writes, "I've been working here for 2 years. The job's fine, the coworkers are fine, except for one person. Imagine having a coworker who mysteriously falls sick every time an urgent task comes up. Yep, that's L, a person OP describes as a walking encyclopedia of illnesses, someone who takes sick leave so often that her empty chair is more familiar than her face." OP writes, L has an extensive collection of ailments, headaches, back pain, flu, allergies. One time, she even said her soul hurt. I don't know if she's actually fragile or just has a special bond with prescription meds, but she calls in sick at least once a week. At first, OP didn't care much. After all, everyone gets sick sometimes, right? But fate had other plans. A high-stakes project landed on OP's desk, setting the stage for one of those office soap operas that everyone has witnessed at least once. The disaster began when OP and L were assigned to work on an important project, the kind of project that could either make them office heroes or infamous failures. OP writes, the deadline was tight, only 3 days. And, like clockwork, on the first day, L called in sick with a terrible headache. With the deadline breathing down their neck, OP had 2 choices, either wait for L and risk missing the deadline or tackle everything solo. OP, being the responsible worker they are, decided, screw it, I'll just do her part too. It'll help the team, and at least my boss won't have to deal with the stress. And so, OP worked late into the night, handling spreadsheets, designing the presentation, and even drafting the emails. By 2 a.m., their eyes were burning, but their soul was glowing with the satisfaction of a job well done. L is gonna be so grateful. OP thought. Oh, how naive. The next morning, L strutted into the office looking radiant, like she just returned from a spa retreat. OP, still running on caffeine and regret, excitedly greeted her, feeling better? I finished everything, even your part. Cue the plot twist. Instead of gratitude, L's face twisted in horror. She shot up from her chair, pointed at OP like a character in a courtroom drama, and screeched, "How dare you? You did all of it? What am I supposed to do now? Are you trying to make me look useless?" OP was stunned. "But, you weren't here? The deadline was today?" L stormed into the boss's office, dramatically proclaiming, "OP took over everything." I was completely pushed aside. And thus, the tension hit its peak. The boss called both of them in, reviewed the project, and nodded approvingly at OP, "Great job. Quick, efficient, you saved the team." Then, they turned to L and gave a polite but sharp smile, "You've been taking a lot of sick days. Maybe try not to miss important deadlines next time?" L's face turned tomato red. She shot daggers at OP before storming out. From that day on, she never spoke to OP again, except to spread rumors that OP deliberately sabotaged her to make her look bad. At this point, OP was like, "Excuse me, ma'am, you were the one who took a sick day during crunch time?" And then came the shocking revelation, apparently, L had already been warned by management about her excessive absences. OP sighed, "Had I known, maybe I would have waited for her, but how could I when the deadline was so tight?" So, here's the dilemma, if OP hadn't done the work, the project would have been late, and the boss would have scolded both of them. Either way, L would have likely blamed OP. Basically, OP was stuck in a no-win situation, do the work and get accused of sabotage, or don't do it and get blamed for failure. When OP posted the story on Reddit, the comments section turned into an online war zone. Some backed OP, work is work, if someone can't pull their weight, don't expect others to wait around. Others defended L, taking over someone's work without warning can be disrespectful. OP should have asked first. One comment summed it up perfectly, L probably thinks OP is a supervillain, single-handedly finishing a project while simultaneously destroying her career. Now, I have a theory, maybe L wasn't even mad at OP. Maybe she was just angry at the boss for calling her out, and OP was the easiest person to blame. Or perhaps this was her way of manipulating sympathy, look at me, I'm suffering. Boss, please have mercy on me. But come on, L, expecting your coworkers to just wait for you indefinitely? That's a bit much. And let's be real, if OP hadn't done the work, the project would have failed, and L still would have thrown OP under the bus. It was a lose-lose situation. So what would you have done? Would you have taken over the project, or left it half-done to prove a point? Personally, I would have done the same thing as OP, but maybe sent a quick message first, hey, you're sick, so I'm covering for you. Please don't hate me. And there you have it, an office drama so ridiculous it belongs in a sitcom. OP just wanted to help, but instead got caught in a full-blown corporate soap opera. Are you Team OP or Team L? Have you ever witnessed workplace drama like this? Drop a comment, I need to hear your stories. Story 2, Deep, Gen X, raised to be independent, now they want us to need them. Next, we dive into our /Gen X, a space where those born between the 60s and 80s share stories that are both hilarious and bittersweet. The OP is a Gen Zer, the kind who grew up on rock music, ripped jeans, and the do-it-yourself mindset. They write, our parents, the baby boomers, always taught us to be independent. No relying on others, no whining, earn your own money, live your own life. OP continues, when I was 16, my mom handed me $20 and said, go out and find a job, don't expect me to take care of you forever. I wasn't mad because that was just how they raised us, tough, strong, ready to face the world. Sounds pretty badass, right? I imagine OP at that moment, like a character from an 80s movie, big hair, leather jacket, stepping into the world with determined eyes. But then, the drama begins as the baby boomers grow older, and this story takes a twist OP never saw coming. Are you ready? This is the kind of family drama anyone can relate to, but for Gen X, it hits differently. Years go by. OP is now in their 40s, living a stable life, good job, their own house, and a rock-solid mindset, never needing anyone. OP writes, I'm proud of my independence. My parents were proud too, bragging to the neighbors, our kid doesn't need us at all. But then, everything changed when OP's parents entered old age. One day, OP's mom calls, her voice shaky, no longer as firm as before. She says, why don't you visit me more often? I'm so lonely. I need you around now. OP is stunned. They write, I stood there, holding the phone, thinking, you need me? You told me never to rely on you. But the drama doesn't stop at one phone call. OP's mom starts texting daily, I'm feeling unwell today. Can you come cook for me? Then OP's dad joins in, calling, it's freezing in the house, can you fix the heater? OP writes, I don't know how to react. They taught me to be independent my whole life, and now they want me to act like a 5-year-old again? I read this and couldn't help but laugh while feeling a bit bitter. Gen X really has it rough, being self-sufficient all their lives only to end up as reluctant caregivers. The drama escalates when OP tries to explain, Mom, I'm really busy, I have a job, I have my own family. But OP's mom won't have it. She starts crying over the phone, you don't care about me? I raised you, and now you're abandoning me? OP writes, I wanted to scream, you raised me to be independent. Now you're blaming me for it. But instead, they just quietly hung up, feeling emotionally drained. Here's another twist, it's not just OP's mom. Aunts and uncles, the entire baby boomer generation, start calling OP, saying things like, come visit me, I miss you. OP thinks, miss me? You kicked me out to be independent when I was a kid. I imagine OP sitting there, phone buzzing non-stop, surrounded by the complaints of the very people who once told them, don't rely on anyone. Do you see the irony in this story? I find it both sad and hilarious. Gen X really is the generation caught between two extremes. OP goes on Reddit, asking, my parents want me to need them, but they raised me not to need anyone, what do I do? The comments explode like a marketplace argument. One side, the support your parents team, says, they're old now, it's normal for them to need their kids. You should visit. The other side, the stand your ground team, argues, they made their bed, now they have to lie in it. If they taught you independence, they can't ask for the opposite now. One comment even jokes, Gen X should send baby boomers an invoice for their upbringing, charge them for every day of self-sufficiency. I laughed so hard at that one, but I also get OP's struggle. After living independently for decades, suddenly being expected to need each other again is tough. I have a theory for you to think about. Maybe OP's parents don't actually need them financially or physically. Maybe they just crave a sense of connection. As they age, they feel lonely, so they turn to their kids for emotional support. But Mom, Dad, you raised your kid to be a self-sufficient superhero, don't expect them to suddenly act like a child again. Or maybe they regret being too tough before and are now trying to make up for it. Either way, OP is in a tough spot. If they don't help, they'll be seen as ungrateful. If they do, it feels like a betrayal of the very values they were raised with. Here's the latest update from OP. Last week, their mom mailed them a box of homemade cookies with a note saying, I miss you, please come visit. OP writes, I looked at the cookies, feeling both touched and annoyed. Touched because my mom really is old now, annoyed because she knows exactly how to guilt trip me. Honestly, I think OP's mom is playing some high-level psychological tactics here. Who can resist a box of cookies? What do you think? If you were OP, would you visit often, or would you stick to your Gen X independence? And that, my friends, is a deep yet hilarious family drama that left me both laughing and feeling a little heartbroken. Gen X, raised to be independent, now being pulled back into the role of the dutiful child. The irony is unreal. Are you on OP's side or their parents' side? Do you have a similar family drama? Share your stories, I'm super curious. Story 3, Strange, my husband's secret cat persona. Next, we dive into our /stories, a place where the strangest tales unfold. In this time, OP brings us a family drama so bizarre that I couldn't help but clutch my stomach laughing and wonder, what on earth is going on? OP is an ordinary woman living with her husband, let's call him T, in a cozy little house. OP writes, we've been married for 5 years. T is the quiet, mild-mannered type. After work, he usually just watches TV or plays video games. I never thought he had any secrets. But then, one late night, everything changed. OP recounts, I woke up at 2 a.m. to the sound of meow meow coming from the living room. I thought, a stray cat must have wandered in. I should shoo it out. She grabbed a broom, ready to confront some fierce feline intruder, turned on the lights, and headed downstairs. But when she got to the living room, she was hit with the shock of her life. There was no stray cat. It was her husband, T, crawling on the floor, wearing a pair of fake cat ears, and meowing like a real cat. OP writes, I just stood there, the broom slipping from my hand, thinking, am I dreaming, or has my husband lost his mind? I was cracking up at this point. OP, this isn't a dream. This is real-life comedy gold. Are you ready for this absurd tale? OP stood frozen, watching as T crawled around, his cat ears bouncing with every movement, letting out deep, heartfelt meows, as if he was truly in character. Finally, OP broke the silence. T, what are you doing? T jolted upright, his face turning bright red. He stammered, when did you wake up? I was just joking. Joking? At 2 a.m.? Crawling around with cat ears? That's not a joke, that's a full-blown feline transformation. OP, still in shock, pressed on, joking? What kind of joke is this? T slumped onto the couch, took off his cat ears, and confessed a secret OP could hardly believe. It helps me relieve stress, he admitted. Work is tough, and pretending to be a cat helps me relax. OP was stunned but managed to stay calm. She asked, "How long have you been doing this?" T hesitated before finally admitting, "For about 6 months. Every night after you fall asleep, I come down here and, do my cat thing." 6 months. OP writes, "I felt like fainting. 6 months of cat cosplay in my own house, and I had no clue? I was dying of laughter." Buddy, Ray, all cats don't work 8-hour shifts just to relieve stress by pretending to be human. But the drama didn't stop there. T revealed another detail that sent chills down OP's spine. He was part of an online community called Cat People, a group where members role-play as cats, share videos, and even hold cat meetings over Zoom. T excitedly explained, "You don't get it, it's fun. Some people even sew tails and wear collars with bells." OP writes, "I thought he was joking until he pulled out his phone and showed me a group chat filled with pictures of people wearing cat ears, crawling around their houses. At this point, I was both laughing and slightly freaked out. A Cat People community? Is this real life or a bizarre animated movie?" OP now faced a dilemma. She wrote, "I didn't know whether to be mad or to hug him. On one hand, it's weird, who pretends to be a cat in the middle of the night? But on the other hand, he looks so pitiful, like a real cat caught doing something naughty." She asked T, "Why didn't you tell me?" T sighed, "I was afraid you'd laugh at me, or think I was crazy." OP writes, "I didn't laugh, but, to be honest, I did think he was a little crazy. At this point, I just wanted to scream, 'OP, please laugh. This is comedy gold, not horror.' But this whole situation made me wonder, does pretending to be a cat really relieve stress? Or is T just escaping into his own little world?" OP eventually made a compromise. "I told T he could keep doing his cat thing, but not while I was awake, because I couldn't handle hearing meow meow at midnight." T agreed, but OP was still uneasy. "I don't know if I can live with this forever." Reddit, of course, exploded with comments. Team 1, "It's harmless. Let him be a cat. If it makes him happy, who cares?" Team 2, "Nope. Too weird. He needs to stop." One user even joked, "Just get him a real cat so he stops pretending to be one." I laughed so hard at that, brilliant idea, but something tells me T would rather be the cat than own one. Here's a theory for you all. What if T isn't just relieving stress, but actually finding joy in his Cat People community? Maybe he feels lonely in real life, and playing a cat helps him connect with others. Or maybe he's always wanted a cat as a kid but was never allowed to have one, and now he's gone full cat mode as an adult. Either way, I found this story both weird and oddly sweet. T isn't hurting anyone, he's just a little different. And now, an update from OP. Last week, she decided to join one of the Cat People meetings with T, to understand him better. She wrote, "I put on cat ears, meowed a few times, but I felt so awkward." Meanwhile, T was thrilled, saying, "You're the cutest cat ever. I thought, OP, you're really trying hard for your husband, and I respect that. What do you think? Is cat roleplay actually fun, or is it just for people like T? Do you have any weird secrets you've hidden from your family? Drop your comments, I'm dying to know." That's it, OP's bizarre yet hilarious family drama that left me laughing and cringing at the same time. A husband secretly cosplaying as a cat, funny or freaky? Are you Team OP or Team T? Do you have any weird stories of your own? Share them, I'm super curious. Story 4, Tension, Update, Boyfriend's Photo with Another Woman. Next up, we're diving into our /am I overreacting, where relationship dramas explode like ticking time bombs. And this time, OP brings us a story that had me both tense and screaming, "Run away now." OP is a woman who has been in a 3-year relationship with her boyfriend, let's call him K. She describes him as kind, thoughtful, the type of guy I thought would never do anything wrong. OP writes, "We live together in a small apartment, share a dog, and I had imagined a future where we'd get married. But then, one day, drama struck, all because of a single photo. OP shares, I was scrolling through social media when I saw a mutual friend post a picture from a night out, and in it was Kay, smiling brightly, standing close to a woman I had never seen before. At first, OP thought, it's probably just a friend, no big deal. But something in her gut told her otherwise. And from that moment on, this story turned into an emotional roller coaster that had me wanting to hug OP. Are you ready? This is the kind of relationship drama we all fear but can't stop reading. OP didn't react immediately. Instead, she decided to observe. She writes, I started noticing Kay over the next few days. He was constantly on his phone, smiling at messages, and quickly hiding the screen whenever I got close. One day, OP decided to confront him. She pulled up the photo on her phone, handed it to Kay, and asked, care to explain? Who is this woman? Kay looked at the photo, turned pale, and stammered, she's an old friend. We just happened to run into each other that night. OP writes, I wanted to believe him, but his voice was shaky, like he was making it up on the spot. And I'm over here thinking, Kay, your acting skills are terrible. Who's buying this excuse? OP didn't stop there. She writes, I pretended to let it go, but that night, while Kay was asleep, I checked his phone. And bam, the real drama exploded. OP found a string of messages between Kay and the woman, let's call her M. In them, Kay wrote, I had such a great time today. You're so adorable, babe. And M replied, you too. Let's go out again soon. OP writes, my hands were shaking, my heart was pounding, and I wanted to scream in the middle of the night. Can you imagine? 3 years together, living under the same roof, only to find out your boyfriend is calling another woman babe? I wanted to jump into the story and yell, Kay, what the hell are you doing? The next day, OP confronted him again. She held up his phone and read the messages out loud, who's babe? Explain this. Kay panicked, dropped to his knees, and started crying, I'm so sorry. It was just a joke, I swear. It didn't mean anything. A joke? Calling another woman babe is a joke? OP writes, I watched him cry, and I was torn between anger and laughter. What kind of dumb excuse is that? Kay kept pleading, she's just a friend. I was just messing around. I never actually cheated. But OP wasn't buying it. She kept digging and found that Kay had even sent M selfies, the same kind of photos he used to send to OP. At that moment, OP made her decision. She writes, I told Kay to pack his things and leave. I couldn't stay with someone who lied to me. Kay sobbed, begged for another chance, but OP stood firm, get out. I don't want to hear another word. She writes, watching him leave with his suitcase, I felt both relief and pain. 3 years isn't short, but I couldn't forgive this. And honestly, I wanted to applaud her, OP, you're amazing. If I were in your shoes, I'd have kicked him out even faster. But the story didn't end there. OP started to question herself. She turned to Reddit and asked, did I overreact by breaking up over some text messages? The comments section exploded like a marketplace at rush hour. Team OP supporters said, no, girl, he was clearly cheating. Calling another woman babe is a deal breaker. You did the right thing. Team K defenders argued, come on, it was just texts, not physical cheating. Give him another chance. Some people even joked, K needs to learn how to friend zone properly. Calling her babe is just digging his own grave. I was cracking up reading these comments, but I was also 100% Team OP, girl, run. If he calls her babe now, what's next? Now, here's a theory for you. Could it be that K wasn't actually cheating, but just enjoyed the thrill of flirting? Maybe he was bored in his stable relationship with OP and wanted some excitement? Or was there something real between him and M, but he was just better at hiding it? Either way, I think OP made the right call. Breaking up was the best way to protect herself. But I do understand her doubt. 3 years isn't easy to throw away, and seeing someone you loved cry can be heartbreaking. And now for the final twist. A week after the breakup, Kay started texting OP nonstop, apologizing and even sending pictures of their shared dog, saying, "I miss you. Please give me another chance." OP writes, "I almost gave in because of the dog, but then I remembered the babe texts and deleted his number. And I was cheering, 'OP, stay strong. Don't let the dog guilt trip you.' What do you think? Would you have forgiven Kay, or would you have dumped him like OP did? Have you ever faced relationship drama like this before?" That's it. OP's story was a tense love drama from start to finish, from one suspicious photo to a tearful breakup. I feel for OP, but I also admire her strength. Are you Team OP or Team K? Got any wild relationship stories to share? Drop them in the comments, I'm dying to know. Story 5, Dark Waiting for My Brother to Harm Himself. Finally, we arrive at our /confession, a place where the darkest secrets are laid bare. This time, OP brings a story that gives me both chills and heartbreak. OP is just an ordinary person, living in a family they once believed to be peaceful. They write, "I have an older brother, let's call him Jay, who is 5 years older than me. When I was little, he was my hero. He taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with my homework, and always protected me from bullies. But everything changed when Jay reached adulthood." OP continues, "He got into addiction, alcohol, then harder substances, and from then on, he was no longer the brother I remembered. The drama began with the family's downfall, and now OP confesses something that left me speechless. I'm waiting for Jay to harm himself, or worse, because I'm exhausted. Are you ready for this? This isn't a funny or lighthearted story, it's so heavy that it made me wonder, how has OP endured this for so long?" OP recounts that it all started when Jay turned 18, a time when he should have been choosing a college or getting a job. But instead, he left home, fell in with the wrong crowd, and came back with bloodshot eyes and the stench of alcohol. OP writes, "At first, my parents and I tried to help him. My mom cried, my dad yelled, and I sat next to him, asking, 'Jay, what's going on?' But he just brushed me off. 'Don't worry, I'm fine.' Fine? How could he be fine when every week brought a new mess?" The drama escalated when Jay became violent. OP shares, "One time, he smashed our TV because Dad wouldn't give him money. Another time, he shoved me to the ground just because I turned off his loud music in the middle of the night. The family tried sending Jay to rehab, not once, but 3 times. OP recalls, "The first time, he promised to change, but the moment he got out, he relapsed. The second time, he ran away from the center. The third time, he came home and screamed at my mom, 'Stay out of my life.' At this point, I wanted to scream, 'Jay, do you not see that you're destroying your family?' But what drained OP the most wasn't just the addiction, it was Jay's constant destruction." OP reveals, "He borrowed money from everyone, and debt collectors came banging on our door. He even stole my parents' belongings to sell for more drugs. The family eventually lost all hope." OP writes, "My mom cried until she had no tears left, my dad stopped talking to Jay altogether, and me, I used to try to help, to pull him back, but now I just want him gone." The climax comes when OP confesses their darkest thought. "I no longer want to save Jay. I'm waiting for the day he finally does something to himself, or worse, so my family can be free." OP continues, "Every time I hear that he's causing trouble somewhere, I feel both fear and hope, fear that he'll die, but hope that this nightmare will finally end. That sent chills down my spine. OP, I understand your pain, but waiting for that day, that's too heavy to bear." They then ask, "Am I a bad person for thinking this way?" That question made me sit in silence for a long time. OP writes, "I know my thoughts are awful, but I have nothing left to give." The Reddit comments were split. The first group, Team Empathy, said, "You're not bad. You're just exhausted. Living with an addict is hell, and everyone has a breaking point." The second group, Team Morality, argued, "He's still your brother. You shouldn't wish for his death." And of course, some people tried to lighten the mood. Just buy Jay a one-way plane ticket somewhere far away. That way, you'll have no drama and no guilt. I laughed at that, but let's be honest, Jay probably wouldn't go anywhere. I have a theory for you to think about. What if Jay doesn't want to hurt his family but simply can't escape his addiction? Maybe he's suffering too but doesn't know how to stop. Or maybe he's intentionally pushing everyone away because he's ashamed of himself. Either way, I don't think OP is a bad person, they're just trapped in a nightmare with no way out. Now, let me give you an update from OP. Recently, Jay called them in the middle of the night, his voice hoarse. "I'm sorry. I know I'm awful." OP writes. Hearing that, I felt both pity and anger. Pity because he still has a little bit of clarity left. Anger because he's not doing anything to change. OP adds. I didn't say anything. I just hung up. Because I don't want to hope anymore. And my thoughts? OP, you're so strong, but also so heartbroken. What do you think? Is OP wrong for wishing Jay would disappear, or are they just trying to protect themselves? Have you ever dealt with a loved one who drained you completely? So, that was OP's dark and painful confession, one that left me sitting in silence. A brother who was once a hero, now turned into a nightmare. And OP, trapped between love and exhaustion. Are you on OP's side? Do you have a family story like this? Drop a comment, I'm listening. And that wraps up our emotional roller coaster, from awkward office misunderstandings, Gen X culture shocks, a husband cosplaying as a cat at 2 a.m., shocking relationship betrayals, to a confession that sent shivers down my spine. If there's one takeaway from all these stories, it's this. Life always throws drama at us, ones we never see coming. Like finding out your husband is crawling around at 2 a.m., meowing. And what do all these stories have in common? Everyone has secrets. Everyone has a dark side. Everyone does what they must to survive, whether it's pretending to be a cat in the living room or cutting ties with a toxic family member. And sometimes, the best way to handle drama isn't to judge, but to grab some popcorn, sit back, and watch the show. So, what about you? Have you ever kept a bizarre secret? Or faced drama so wild that you didn't know whether to laugh or cry? Tell me, I love drama. As long as it's not mine. If there's one thing I want you to remember after hearing these stories, it's this. Everyone has a little crazy in them, and that's perfectly normal. Some people pretend to be cats to relieve stress. Some distance themselves from toxic family members. Some unintentionally become the villains in someone else's story. Life isn't always black and white. And sometimes, what we see as weird is just how people cope. But hey, the most important thing? Be true to yourself, but don't forget to respect others. You might not understand why someone does what they do, but instead of judging, be curious. Instead of condemning, observe. And if possible, laugh more. Because, in the end, life is just a series of strange stories. And we're all the main characters in our own. So go out there, live, love, experience. And if you need to relieve stress, there are probably better ways than crawling around at 2 a.m. meowing.